Hello and welcome to stage 3 of the Dirt Racing Series. We're following the Platinum Plus division here, and we're going to be on the Muckle Yin for a points race. Just quickly going to introduce you to the course so you... try and get the right course this week. Normally helps matters. So on the Muckle Yin this week, it's a Scotland loop covering pretty much every single road. Not quite in all directions, but the vast majority of them. Today we're only having 3 segments of the possible 6, and that's going to be foul on the breakaway bray reverse, so about 1 minute, probably on that one it'll be a 25-second segment, but it's about a 30 seconds, 40-second effort. Then we've got FTS on the Sker Summit North, that's the dirt side, but interesting to note today is that all the riders are going to be on the same assigned bike, so they'll be able to change their wheels, but they won't be able to change onto a gravel wheel set or a gravel bike. And so that takes that kind of issue of some people being on Apple TV, some people being on PC, some people being on an iPad, totally out of the way, making it a fairer playing field, giving everyone the opportunity to do well on that climb. So that's a few tactics maybe gone out the window there. Then the final segment that we have today is going to be another foul segment. That's first across the line. That's going to be on the normal side of the breakaway bray, which is much more like a 1 minute effort, about 50 seconds. And with a couple of kicks on the way up. It's not quite a consistent climb, so it has been classified as a sprint segment, same with the reverse, and they are quite short, so they will suit the sprinters over the climbers, but there's plenty of opportunities for the climbers to make it count on the Sker Summit North, and potentially on the long climb into the Sker Summit South, but then that'll come a lot down to the group, who's left and what kind of tactics are at play. As we make our way to the finish, we'll have the champions sprint. After doing the Little Clyde kicker, it's a little punchy section. There's maybe the opportunity for a long attack, but generally you'll see it stay together, and then it's a long 30-second minute effort to the finish. With a little kicker just beforehand, you might be able to see on the profile, and then a consistent downhill into the finish. So we'll jump on to the stream. Now some of you may see the standings from last week, but just to recap it quickly for you, those who haven't, currently in first place you have Beast Mode powered by Rose, which won the old Platinum League teams, Premier League teams, not quite sure what they wanted to call it. And a very strong group of German riders generally, although I think they'll have Nordy riding from today, former current dirt rider who's helping them out and riding with them. Then second place we've got Coalition Insomnia on joint 37 points with the unknown ESRT. A very strong team, lots of real top-ranked riders there, likes of John Verma, Martin Sunderland, etc. And in fourth place, you have the Down and Dirty Ospreys on 33 points. So a bit of a gap back to them, but definitely overcomable. And they had a good performance last week, coming close to the unknown Coalition. Then we've got another 3-point drop-off to TZH Platinum. I believe we're a Spanish team, correct me if I'm wrong. And then Coned V-Sports, really great to see them in 6th. They're a team of former Bs who have pushed on up and now have all been, or at least some of them are categorised in the Platinum Plus category, so they're all racing up there. And it's great to see them carrying on, working hard and competing with some of these big guns. And it gets quite tight with 6th, 7th, well, joint 7th as we'll say, it's not quite 7th and 8th, Burrito Titans in joint 7th, and CMC Rhino's South African team do a lot of team time trialling, not as much point racing, but it's good to see them here. And a good result last week compared to Burrito Titans, so they're gaining on them, and hence why they're joint in places. Then finally I've got Foudre, French team, ABR, TBR and Wop Kilo Boys. So with the lineups we have today, generally speaking, we see the Beast Mode riders are possibly a bit, well, they are a bit fitter in that sense. They don't quite have the punch that ESRT have, and that's why ESRT might try and take it to them. It's a very punchy course this week. You're almost constantly climbing or on a segment or on a downhill. There's very little flat sections to get your breath back, while you might be able to on the downhill. What goes down must come up, as I like to say. Then following them closely we do have, joint with them we have Coalition, who are a nice strong team across the board. They've got some good sprints in there, some fitter riders. And on the leaders, we've got Moritz Pohlmeier, Cat B, Anders Bengtsen. He's a very strong sprinter, quite a lightweight rider compared to Moritz, who's much heavier, much more raw power. But we'll see how they get on today. So as we get out the pen, it's quite a steady start. Nothing too crazy going on, which is nice for a race. Sometimes on this course, as we go straight into champion sprints, you'll get a little glimpse of what will be the finish line later on today as we come under the bridge. And it's a long straight section, you can see the line from here. Had it in a few races where it's straight out of the gate for points, which I don't want to say creates an exciting start, because all Zwift races start off at a stupid pace. But it's certainly a different start. You see, people are a bit more settled today. So one rider jumps out the gate early. I'm just trying to get hold and see who it is. It looks like one of the Watt per kilo riders, M. Brewer, going off. I mean, he's not doing anything crazy, but he's got a little bit of a gap over the field. I'll be amazed if this sticks, but you know, nothing to lose. See one of the riders sadly left in the pen. Might be able to see it. Well, you would have seen on the minimap until I changed it for you. And they're just trying to chase back on, but that's going to be someone's race sadly over. Again, most riders out safe. We look about 47 in this front group. So with this course being very bumpy, as mentioned a few times in week 1, I'd like to see some of the kind of stronger teams making attacks, trying something different. It's almost a bit too easy to sit in, especially on a course like this where there is opportunity to pull away. And for the likes of Beast Mode, who may lack a little bit of punch and pure watt per kilo, sorry, not pure watt per kilo, pure wattage in their sprints, this is definitely a course where they want to get away if they can, go long, and make their watt per kilo advantage and fitness count over the likes of ESRT, who are strong. They are fit riders, no doubt about it, working hard, but they definitely have a lot more when it comes to that sprint finish. Again, that's assuming they're all ready, fit, fresh to go, and that's where teams can take it out on this course. While actually breaking away might be difficult at times, with the undulating nature and only the Sker summit climb really giving that opportunity. But it's very long and for these riders semi-draftable. But the rest of the punches are definitely draftable and the group will have an advantage. It'll take a humongous effort. But what you can do is tire out the opposition. You see some of the Fuji riders moving towards the front in their light blue kit. And it'll be very similar kit to Coned V-Sport. You see on the left of the screen with the blue and grey stripe down the middle. I've got one of the beast mode riders, but as I was saying, you can move forward, take the lead, make your opposition hurt, especially on some of these climbs. It's really important to take control of them. I'd say it's the most important one is maybe on the Sker Summit north side. Wait, I'm just checking it's the north side. I'm always getting the ones mixed up. But essentially on that Sker Summit side where it's the road, you have a very sharp kick. See some of the ESRT riders just pushing off the front a little bit here. People are having to react. So remember, we have got the foul section coming up, so we've got a little bit of a climb around this corner, and then we've got a long downhill into the what I call the castle kicker. You have a kick over there, and then we're into the breakaway bray reverse. So they've not quite caused much split in the pack, might just be harming a few riders towards the back, tiring the legs slightly. But there's no chance of this actually staying away as a full breakaway at this stage in the race. Far too many strong riders out there. There's no harm, with teams of 8s you can afford to have riders pushing the pace, trying something different, making things happen, especially if you're a team that's fitter than those you're competing with, or thinks you're punchier. There's ways you can target this, and that's what I was going on to speak about. The Sker Summit, on the punchy roadside, there's a very steep section to begin with, which a group carries a lot of momentum in. And if you can control that, make that section a sprint rather than a long gradual climb, it kind of neutralises the opportunity for any breakaways. Because you're going so quickly up there, the speeds are so high, people have to react to it. And if they react to it at, 6, 7, 8 watts per kilo, then they're not going to have the energy to grind away once the speed's down. And you maintain that high speed onto the flatter sections. Whereas the alternative is people hit there at 4, 5, 6 watts per kilo, they lose all that speed and then it becomes a bit of a grind up that section. You can have low speeds, not much draft the entire rest of the way. And while you might have a little kick in the tank, the speeds are so low that it doesn't have such an impact, and it's possible for people just to grind their way away from you, especially towards the top and over the top into the dirt downhill. As we come through one of the start-finish banners, I don't see this one used particularly much. I'm not sure if there are any routes in Scotland that finish at that banner behind. There's definitely some interesting routes possible punching up this final climb before you turn left. Might be able to see the part of the Squirrell summit off behind us there. The riders will have to suffer up twice today. But here we're coming into the downhill. The first segment's around 4.9, it might be 5.3, but it's around 5 for those of us who aren't too pernickety on the actual specific 100 metres. And that's when we come into the breakaway bray reverse, first across the line. It's a steep section to begin with. It flattens a bit, then another steep section, and then flattens a lot more over the line. So there's a very fine balance to be fought here of going early, carrying your speed in that first section, but avoiding the front, being able to punch over the second and still have something left in the tank. You see a lot of early attacks going up there without the draft, and they just get reeled in by those who just wait a little bit later, staying in the draft. So come down, see the speed slowly rising here. Get up to about 58, 60, depending on the group at the bottom. And you're just carrying that speed into the base. So, as I said, first up we have the Castle Kicker. It's a steeper climb on the steepest on the course, but you're looking at 30 seconds effort, maybe slightly more for some of the riders. But it's short, sharp, and can definitely stretch a group out. 10 not to see riders dropped on here. There's plenty of opportunity to, but because there's no segment on here for this race, there's not much incentive to push absolutely crazy numbers. See some of the beast mode riders lighting it up. ESRT really pushing the pace at the front with Anders Broberg, Janssen with him, Busses from Foudre responds, just sticking towards the front. You see people getting to the front and they're just relaxing a bit. They're still working very hard there with Busses and some of the ESRT riders. Not quite sure the need at this point, whether they're hoping to stretch out the pack a bit more before the first cross the line section. But there's, 30 seconds before here and starting working hard again. It's not enough time to get much recovery, and you're much better sticking further back, having to manoeuvre yourself less coming into this climb. That's exactly where we see a lot of the Beast Mode riders just sitting back, ready to respond if anything goes at the front, anything crazy at least. Sitting back, leaving themselves plenty of room to push through and take advantage of. So we're up to 62 kilometers an hour, and now it's about holding that speed. There's a little dip coming up beforehand, and then we start 1-2% climbing. It gets a lot steeper, and then flattens out over the banner that you can see on the minimap. So a lot of this is about who's going to blink first. The first rider to go is going to be in a lot of trouble come that top. See, lots of people waiting a bit longer than you normally see. Novak just pushing off the front a little bit, but he's not doing enough here. And see there, Nordy going. Nordy's blinking first. Sally's just going to lead out the rest. He's a very strong rider, but he's playing into the hands with Alan from TZH, coming through hard. And there we go. It starts to flatten out now. We have one of their teammates from Rose Beast Mode from Nordy coming through the front. Can't quite see who it is. Looks like Tommy Vale as well, doing well for CMC. Blomqvist coming through for ESRT. So big points across the board there for ESRT and Beast Mode. TZH seemed to score twice with Alan, it looks like. I'm not sure who. Jay Says. Quite a lot of points across the board for the big teams there. I think Dirt might be slightly disappointed. Just saw Tyler there, Tyler Callahan. So don't have one rider. I mean, it's only a foul segment. The points aren't crazy strong. But, they'll be looking to score some of them as well as finishing high up. And, if you want to fight for that podium, these segments start to make a difference, especially with how competitive it is in this field. So as you come down around what will be the breakaway bray that we'll do the next lap, we've got a few minutes just to get some recovery in, and then we're on to the next segment, which is Squirrell Summit. It's a bit of a gentle climb up to it, but nothing that'll trouble most of these riders. It's just about sitting in and recovering now. So ESRT just sending a couple of riders towards the front. See, we might have lost a couple off the back there. See, Walbeck and Sunderland from ESRT Sunderland even. Oh, Brobeck and Sunderland. That's going to be disappointing for them. Not sure quite what's happened there. Don't know if Sunderland was the one who didn't quite get going off the start. But that's definitely tough for them, losing 2 riders. See Moritz Pohlmeier, maybe not the fittest rider, but a big sprint. And he's going to be frustrated to be dropped so early before he's had a chance to take advantage of that. So coming back to the chase group, see Nico Buz of Foudre, who's towards the front on that castle kicker. Possibly hurt himself a little bit. He's getting dropped off over the Bray itself where the real points are held. I definitely saw him a little bit to the front though, so maybe it's just a case of easing slightly too much. It's definitely a common one on this course. We have so many punches and straight into a downhill. You can very much just think, switch off, it's all okay. But a lot of these climbs don't go straight into the downhill. There's a few seconds of flat beforehand. And when a group's moving really quickly to come through, if you're fading towards the top, it's very easy to be caught out by how quickly you drop backwards and out the back. And especially if you do that on the top of the sker, you're in a lot of trouble on the downhill. In the ride today, we have seen a lot of people making it back on. A lot of the chase groups have managed to jump back onto the end of it. But you tend to see them start to pop off on the sker summit. I can't imagine that there won't be one bunch at least off the back when we climb and crest over the top there. We have such a variety because of the new ranking system, which is great to see. There's lots of riders who are going to feel much stronger on these climbs, much more comfortable there, and others who'll be at home on the sprints. And this is one of the great courses that provides a lot for everybody. While it's horrible, and yeah, I can certainly say after my dismal effort this morning that it's no fun at all. It has some weird kind of enjoyment factor to it of the constant punches one after the other. You get a little bit of a rest but not quite enough. There are some courses where you do get enough rest in between. You know, you're hurting but you can carry on. See that a lot with sprint courses. Like so maybe Sprinters Playground, Neon Flats, I mean the most Neokio ones. And a couple of others out there where you're working hard, there's regular efforts, but you do get enough recovery in between, especially the pace groups tend to go. But on this course, there's no opportunity for that. There's constantly people pushing as you come around the first bend, the Sker Summit north side. So you tend not to see too many breakaways going early. People are pushing the pace, so you see quite a lot of riders in the upper 5-6 watts per kilo. But it's on the next two, well, not the next section, but the 2 sections after that where it really starts to separate out and drop riders. We're coming to a bit of a steeper section. It's a little bit longer than we had to begin with. There's opportunity for it to stretch out here, but you tend to see most riders stay connected. They've got enough for a minute and a half effort. We have lost one off the back, unfortunately. And you see SRT really bunching towards the front. But Beast Mode, plenty of riders there just sat in. I think they'll be quite confident knowing they're capable of doing well up here. Just having one rider off the front. So as you come on this bend, we see LS, not quite sure who that is for Beast Mode, but they're putting a huge effort here, 8 watts per kilo, and this is where it starts to get big. This little kicker here, you get up above 10%, you really need to punch up here. We see too many riders hitting into this at 5 watts per kilo. See Mara in for Foudre, just dropping back, can't even click on him because he dropped back so fast there. He was towards the front a few seconds ago, but just pushed over at 3-4 watts per kilo, and found himself flying back out the group. See Christoph TM taking hold of the front. Now he's got one rider up the road, so he might be very cautious here of not chasing too hard, just setting a pace that means people don't want to come through him. That's one of the best ways you can go about it. But you see Tyler from Down and Dirty Ospreys and a couple more of the ESRT riders moving their way up to the front, getting ready. Now from this section on, we've got a long, consistent climb. It flattens a little bit around the bend that you see Alice going through. But then we're pushing up hard round the little helix and then into a sprint for the finish. Now it's going to start to stretch out with the leaders here. See Jacobs from Coalition kicking hard, and it's a good 30-second, 40-second effort from here. So he's going right at it, 8 watts per kilo. This is exactly where he should be, and he's getting a gap over the group that's going to be quite hard to overcome if he keeps up these numbers. It's one of the things with this climb is that holding that momentum is key. See, Ellis has just started to drop down a bit, and that 5-second gap is probably catchable for Jacobs. I don't think he'll do it, but it's definitely catchable if he can put in another big kick. See Christoph TM starting to motor away now. He's done his job at the front of the group, and now it's going for the points. Nordy on his wheel, and Bengtsson from Coalition of Seeger fighting with Blomqvist. So it's going to be Ellis from Rose Beast Mode taking first FTS, Jacobs second for Coalition, Blomqvist coming through, just pipping out Christoph TM. Then Benchton coming through, might just take TM there. Plenty of points there, SRT John Verm coming through as well. So again, another evenish split between Beast Mode and John Verm, but that early move. Try and find out who LS is. I very much apologise for the issue that. But his early move is going to be the difference between the teams so far, with I think 20 points available for that first FTS spot. So just put them on the screen so you can see 20 points for that first spot, back 3, so 17 for second, then 2 point gaps most of the way down until we get into that 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, where it's only 1 point between each. Looking on the road, it is very stretched out. We have this front group of about 6 riders, then a chase group of 4. 2 of the Beast Mode riders in, Tyler from Down Dirty, and John Verm from ESRT. Now this is going to be an interesting one for the Beast Mode riders in the front group. It looks like there's 2 Beast Mode riders in there. Is it just 1 ESRT? 1 ESRT rider, 2 Coalition, which is really strong for them. I'll be very happy with that. And 1 of the TZH riders. There's very much a decision that the likes of Nordic Beastmen are going to have to make now, of whether they try and close the gap or make others do it. It's a tough call. They have 2 riders in there who might be favourites for the finish, so closing this gap might play into SRT's favour, having another rider back, but it will be 2 Beast Mode guys getting back on, if so. They'll also bring back Tyler, a real strong sprinter from Down Dirty Ospreys. So it's a bit of a difficult decision there, but Nordy went straight away for it, confident in it. And they've got back on before the downhill, which is crucial. They can just sit up now and recover before we come back into the castle. Then we loop around and do the forward normal side of the breakaway bray. As you can see, it's 600 metres, but it's only first across the line, so 10 points for first, then going back 1 point for every other place, aside from second at 9th. Second at 9th, second at 9 points. So this group is a little bit stretched out, a couple of people getting caught, but there is a chase group as well. So they're going to be wanting to work a little bit on that downhill potentially, especially Beast Mode. They've only got 1 rider in that chase group, so SRT and practically every other team. So it's definitely in Beast Mode's favour to keep this away. Their rider able to just to sit in. You see Tommy Vale for CMC doing a lot of work on the front. Very fit and strong rider. He's going to take it on himself, as he's got CMC have no other riders in that front group, so it's important. Gets himself there, which will open up a lot of segment points if he has any kick left. Looking further back, we have a much bigger chase group. A couple more Coalition rides, the SRT. A couple of dirt rides in there. Generally a bit of a mix and match from teams. And so it's going to be hard for them to coordinate much of a chase effort. So these separate groups, I suspect, will start to come back together. But it'll be interesting how the front group treats this castle kick. Remember, it's first across the line rather than FTS on the next segment. So there's not much benefit in saving your energy too much up here, especially for the likes of Beast Mode who have a numerical advantage. Might be worth them having 1 rider pushing a bit harder. While it's important to kind of finish with 4 strong results at the finish, manage to keep away separately here will definitely play in their favour, because, you know, have one of those riders sacrifice themselves, just grind it out, coming last in that group. It's fine, because all the other teams have fewer riders in there. See that chase group really sending it, led by Broberg, the SRT, and Schweiger from Rose Beast Mode on the wheel as well, just getting a bit of separation. And that's unideal for the rest of the group, and by the group as a whole, as having the benefit of numbers will really come in handy on this downhill. But that 3-second gap could easily be caught up over here. It'll be interesting to see what Beast Mode do. See Christoph TM at the front there. Doesn't look like he's really trying to push too hard. Though 5 watts per kilo out of there would suggest maybe otherwise. Been in 2 minds. He's definitely capable of just holding that for a long time. So while it's a bit like, whoa, 5 watts per kilo, for him that's a fairly comfortable number. He can hold that for a while. It's not a full-blown effort to keep it away. So moving into the breakaway bray, it's going to be a bit of a case of holding momentum through the first section. We've seen in some of these DRS races that people have been sprinting quite late on. We saw it earlier on the first segment that people left it late. So this is going to possibly be another case of just holding on. We saw Beast Mode took advantage of that on the climb, sending someone early up the road. But on a sprint like that, there's far less advantage to doing that. Especially with the likes of this, with it flattening out a lot over the top. And it'll be a case of just sitting in, having rides ahead of you, unless you're going to send 2, 3 up the road at once. It's this next bend where it's all make or break. So where we start to send it, and there we go. See Ritter starting to kick. We didn't fully commit, and people reacted whether it was a bit of a false go. And there we go, he's going again now. 10 watts per kilo, that's got to be a move there, and he's starting to send it out. So whether he was trying to just get someone to react with a little small kick first. But he's noticed he's not getting enough separation. People have responded, he's slowed up. And now it's starting to come through. See Nordy leading off the way, Tyler on his wheel. But big numbers all across the world. Bengston with 17 watts per kilo, absolutely crushing this. He's going to come through to take it. But 2 of the SRT riders, Blomqvist there. I'm not sure who the other one was. Really doing well. John Verma, as you'd expect. It's big points for them. Possibly piping out Beast Mode there. I'm not quite sure how that's going to fall. I think there's only 10 in the front group, with Novak being dropped out. And so that means all of them will be scoring points. So just being there is fine. That numerical advantage for Beast Mode, having 4 of them, will probably overcome the SRT's kind of placing advantage. So Ritter just a little bit off the back, but he's strong enough he'll be able to get on without too much issue. I believe we come back up over the castle. So we've got a nice little punch to follow it up. I don't think anybody else is going to be saying it's nice, but when you're sat watching it, you can get away with that. We've got this nice little kick, just keeping the legs moving, keeping them fatigued. See 171 heart rate. Some of these guys, that's definitely up there. See a couple in the 180s, so, you know, they're working very hard. It's Blomqvist. But Novak there, just bridging between the two groups, kind of stuck by himself as that chase group catches on. But I can't imagine this is going to come together now. Those gaps haven't been getting down. I'm surprised to see this third group on the road, as you can see here. Haven't really taken too much time over the middle group. You expect to see with their huge numbers advantage, you know, several teams where it's in their advantage, like Burrito. You know, they definitely want to be closing that gap. They've got 2 riders there. I know TZH have got 2 as well, but those TZH riders also have 1 riding that front group, so it's important they move up and have the opportunity to score more points at the finish. See, those gaps staying fairly level with a front group 23 seconds up the road. That's unlikely to come back with the quality of these guys. Just someone up the road. I think it's Alan from TZH. I'm sure it isn't pronounced Alan, but I'm calling him it now. But Alan's going. Got instantly responded to by Beast Mode. And it's just maybe a little tester. So this climb, only half of it is the actual segment. We have this first section, which we've already come downhill, where it is steep. There's definitely work to be done. Opportunities to push the pace and break away. And lots of teams just kind of sit in through here, rather than really making it hard on other riders. And this is a big opportunity for the likes of Beast Mode to possibly push the pace up here. I think with 4 in the front group, they're confident. They might just want to sit in, save the legs. Seem to be playing it very smartly in this situation. Yeah, they've got no real need to do anything. It's on other teams to force something to happen. They're in a great position. So they're just going to solidly get it over to the finish with all 4 in that front group. So you're getting 2 riders to the front, controlling that pace. And it's these little tactics that really do make a difference. People underestimate it a lot, but having riders just get to the front and set a pace. Loads of riders, and especially the quality and experience in this front group here, very select group, they don't want to be hitting the front, they want to be conserving as much as possible, so they're happy to let others go there. And, you know, while they might be able to do damage, it's only really Coalition and the SRT who can do anything with 2 riders. Any individual trying to push the pace here is just going to hurt themselves, unless they're going for a really long attack like we saw from Alan. So just get the stage map on the corner, so you can see. So we're crossing back over that middle section, over the square, and then we're going to drop down into the city for the end of the course with a little punch, and then onto the champion's kicker, onto the champion's sprint after the Clyde kicker. So it's not far to go after this to the finish, and so there's opportunities to try and go long. I've never seen it happen, and I'll be surprised to see anyone attempt it here, especially with the quality of these riders. But it's definitely a move that's possible with a couple of riders sending it up the road. And especially for those in groups behind. See the like of this group here, second group, only 7 riders in it. So if a couple of them decide to go, especially if you have 2 that are possibly working together, or just decide for whatever reason they just want to send it, it's a possibility for them to kind of TTT all the way to the finish and stay away. So this is the first section up here. You see it's getting up to 9%. It's really important to carry your speed in here. You see this kind of disappointing pace from the riders here. It's like to see Jacobs there pushing 9 watts per kilo. Just watching out for that kind of kick. But again, Beast Mode just at the front, setting the pace, nothing crazy. Now we see LS going again. It's much more like what we see. I wonder if this was kind of a planned move for them, of just slowing the pace into it, getting it down so people would have to do a lot more work to react. Whereas at those high speeds, it's much easier to hold someone's wheel. See Jacobs from Coalition reacting to it, trying to get on the wheel. Remember, it's dirt downhill here, so there is the opportunity to keep pushing away. And that's going to force the SRT and Coalition to do work, hence possibly the Coalition sending Jacobs up. It's also important to consider and think about is that Coalition are dead on points with the SRT, both with 2 riders in the front group. The SRT probably have some slightly more segment points coming into this finish, but it's definitely important that Coalition score here, and if there is a breakaway, have someone in it. You see him coming through LS for Beast Mode, possibly too early. We've got a lot of flat section to come through, and really expertly done then, just getting into the draft, and presumably he's going to kick through here for the lines. First across the line point. Oh, it's not first across the line points, ignore me. Talking rubbish, I see a banner and instantly assume. Yeah, that's just a segment, so it looks like that is a full breakaway move. So they'll be working together, just taking little turns. See Alan from TZH reacting a little bit there, getting another bridge off the front. But it's going to be a long downhill if you're going solo here. And a group able to sit in, follow it. Remember, it is dirt, so speeds are slightly low, but you can see there, 54, 55. There's still a huge advantage to being in a group. You see them coming straight through there. You start the gap at about 9 seconds at the top. It's down 1 so far, but you see how hard they're having to work. I'd say that they need about a 12-second gap going into the finish to stay away. But one of the big perks is Beast Mode have, and the Coalition rider has, Jacobs, is that no one's going to necessarily want to chase apart from ESRT, and they only have 2 riders there to do that work. See there, they go straight to the front with the SRT. John Verm giving a little digging. See Blomqvist again, kicking again, getting to the back, kicking again. Just trying to up that pace. See Tyler off the back. Not quite sure what's going on there. He's kicking 10 watts per kilo, desperate to get back on. He knows how important it is to be in the draft on this downhill. And there we go, carrying all that speed through. It's going to increase the pace of the group. What's going to matter the most here is how hard they go out the base of this climb. They're going to be carrying a lot of speeds. They'll be down at about 46, 47 on the flats, maybe even lower. So they're up at 50, they'll be up about 55 at the base. It's how long they can carry that speed. They'll have lots of riders who can push through the front and hold it a bit, compared to just the 2 here. See, they're not quite sending it, or at least going full send here for the breakaway. I'm not quite sure why. It's a Beast Mode, you know, they've got nothing to lose. With the gap like it is, 41 seconds to that chase group. They're going to be absolutely fine maintaining that gap and staying away. So at this point, they might as well just go all into the finish. It's a long way, still 3-4 minutes at least. Well, maybe 3-4 minutes. But they've got nothing to lose here. They've done a lot of work up that climb. They're going to be tired if that group catches them with all the sprinters in there. They're going to struggle to do anything. So it's kind of all or nothing for those 2 up the road now. So they're maintaining it. They're not quite pushing the numbers you'd expect them to hold away. Possibly a few tactics coming into it, and knowing that they've got a bit of a punch coming up around the corner. So you come into the Clyde kicker section. So again, this isn't for points in this race, but you have to do a lot of work here. See, that gap's really reached up as the group behind's just slowed down. No one doing any work. Rose Beastmen just getting to the front, chilling out. They know it's going to come down to a sprint finish now. But they've got to be very careful of this chase group. This chase group works hard, works together. There's a chance they could start to close that gap down, especially with how slow this group is going. See Alan there, sending it now. 28 seconds, he's not going to make it back on us. But he can definitely do some damage and get away from this group. They don't seem inclined to chase, as we saw with them letting 2 go up the road. So it's fair game for the likes of Alan and Tyler, who possibly aren't necessarily competing with the other teams there, at least in the overall standings. Let's see, Verm from the SRT really reacting there. 15 watts per kilo. He's trying to bridge across. Not quite sure if he's going to get on, though. Alan's still pushing, but he might want a partner to keep away. See GM reacting. Nordy on his wheels. They've seen the SRT rider going. They know they want to just hold his wheel, not do any work. And they're straight on it. So again, it's a similar problem for the chase group that, they're wanting to conserve the finish here, but also damage their opposition. And that gap isn't coming down, so it looks like we're going to be staying with these 3 lead groups. The 2 riders up the road. One for Roast Beast Mode, Jacobs for Coalition. On their way to the finish. There's a little kicker coming up. We've got the first part here, we go round the bend, we've got the second. That's why the long moves are made. And with 2 riders here, going long if you can get away is going to be the winning tactic. You want to break the opposition early. I think it's probably in the Beast Mode rider's favour just being behind in this section. You've got the opportunity to just accelerate a bit, use the draft of the opposition to come through, especially as they're leaving it this late. Jacobs really needs to just send it and go. The later he leaves it, the harder it is for him to beat the Beast Mode rider, and at a certain point they'll just send it. But it's a bit cat and mouse here. They all want to kind of have that second position. See TM sending it up that climb, and the group behind will jump onto that. See, there we go. Alice from Rose Beast Mode sending it hard. Jacobs has lost that 5 meter gap. And, while he might put out bigger numbers, that 5 meter gap is everything. So, at 30 meters, that's going to be a win there. Jacobs coming through in second. Real good breakaway from them. We'll jump back to the main group. That breakaway didn't quite happen up the road. But then it's going to be another send. Sprint finish with Nordic getting a little bit of a gap, but Bengshan again, 17 watts per kilo, absolute monstrous numbers coming through. He's going to take Nordi on the line. Can Nordi hold on there? No, it's going to be Blomqvist for the SRT coming through in 4th there. Big showing from the rest of them. See if we can get back to any of the other riders. It's a strong finish across the line. And see the importance of that 5-10 meter gap. If you can get the jump on them, being really aggressive, you're gone. There's no way to catch on that downhill. You build up too much speed. It's too short and too quick. Just trying to jump onto it at the end of the race. We'll see if we can catch some of the Platinum 1.5 coming into the finish. See the last bit. I think this will be the front group potentially. See the Belgians from WoW taking it strong. Down and Beastly and John P. Strong ride there. Colin Rame in there as well. It's good points there, but big performance from the Belgians. Bring it back at the finish there. Just follow some. So just for reference, this is the 1.5 race now. Just watching them into the finish while I wait for the Platinum Plus results to come through. See a couple of groups back on the road. It seems to have split up quite a lot. Strong front group of about 10-15 riders there. Really sending at the finish. But then we've got a long string out the back. Lots of little bunches of 2 or 3 riders. One of the things I was saying with the small kind of one-on-one or, you know, three-man group, it's really important to stick behind that wheel or jump early. If you're behind that wheel, you have to pick a certain point and just go when you think you have enough advantage just by the delay of responding. You want to stick there as long as possible, then go. Because if you go too early, there's a chance they'll jump back on, as they'll have a bit of a kind of distance advantage. But if you're that front rider, you've just got to absolutely send it. Just pick a moment and go all in to get that gap away. You see here, the equipped rider's managed to get hold of his wheel again. His rider didn't quite go all in there, get that gap and just keep sending it. Just let him back in and that's game over. Too close to the line to do anything about it. He had a little attempt at reacting, but it's too little too late. As you follow the next group, Jerome Lam and Sven from What Fabric, and Van Wyn from Galaxy. See, there's Sven really sending up there, but he's not quite got a big gap. It's still very much in the hands of the riders behind. If they send it here, they could probably make that back up. But again, they're just sitting at 5-6 watts per kilo, and he's gone now. They're fighting between the two of them. You see Van Wyn going, but he left it too late there to go at the front. Lammers is going to take him. He's got the advantage of the draft coming through. Again, Van Wyn just left it a little bit too late. If you're in that front rider, you've got to go quite long. Take the advantage of having a bit of a head start and try and break the other rider mentally. Follow Rayner from What Fabric. Spring in, still pushing chasing riders down, but it's all solo riders here. So we'll try and jump onto some results view back from the Platinum Plus division. Okay, so results aren't quite coming through yet. There we go. Okay, we've got the live results for you at least. So saw Lucas Schlittmann doing a fantastic job taking the FTS segment, taking that breakaway up the Sker Summit South, and then holding it off on all the way to the finish with Arnie Jacobs from Coalition. Put in a huge shift as well. You see that 4.8, 4.7 average. Real big effort from both of them, but expertly finished off by Lucas to take the win today. And following back, we have Anders Bengtsson coming through third, first of that chase group. Blomqvist, who was really sending it through, didn't quite have that 17, 18 watt per kilo kick that Anders does, but he's still hitting it high and he timed it to perfection. Not quite getting all the way through, but taking every ounce of power he could. And getting through Nordy, who went a little bit early and didn't quite get the gap he needed. It was a good move, but if he was going to go that early, he had to send it all the way from that climb. And used, you know, his real strength of 32nd watt per kilo power. See Moritz Ritter from Beast Mode in 5th, so they'll be packing out that top. And see Christoph TM there rounding out for Beast Mode in 10th place at big points for them. I'll be very, very surprised if they don't take the win again today, especially with those segment points. Coming down to see John Verma for the SRT partnering Blomqvist. Get some good points. We'll be tight between them and Coalition, especially with Anders Bengtsson taking third, Arnie Jacobs in second. ESRT, I suspect, will have more segment points, but Coalition definitely have beaten them at the finish with Dan Pannell and Matthew Bassett in 16th and 17th, rounding out their top 4 riders. We'll see if we've got the actual full results up. We've got instant point scoring. Nope. So just down with Schlitterman and Arnie Jacobs there. You can ignore the actual points here because that's not including anyone else in the race, sadly. But there you have it. For those looking at the category Platinum 1.5 results, see, wow, the Belgian team really dominating. Strong finish. Down and Beastly also doing well, but come down to segment points. See Billy Z there coming through in what will be 12th place. Chris 7th place. John Poole and Colin Rame there rounding out the podium with 3rd and 4th. So it'll be very tight between them, and we're going to be going back to the Platinum 1.5 for next week. alternating between the two. So thanks very much for joining. I'm going to be jumping on to what will definitely be Gold 1 this time. And so I'll be back in 10 minutes to cover the Gold 1 race in the EMEA West zone. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.